just a nice little definition of the federal bureaucracy, the agencies, departments, offices, and bureaus of the executive branch. It's really something that, you know, when you think about the bureaucracy, you got to think um, these are the people that make the government run. You know, obviously Congress, the president, the courts are all important, but these are the people that really um, are the wheels of the government. Um, you can see at the bottom there, they implement and enforce laws. Um, so again, a pretty important part of our government. Just some numbers. You have 2.7 million people working in the bureaucracy. You have 21 million if you count state and local. Um, it's a lot of people. So I'm sure some of the people I'm talking to right now, your parents work for the bureaucracy in some form. Um, it touches everybody. A lot of people work for the Defense Department. Think about this area that we live in. You know, we get hit by Letterkenny, the Navy Depot, New Cumberland. Um, you know, there's more. They're everywhere. So we have a ton of people working there. Another group would work for social agencies like Social Security and welfare. Um, you know, that's another big chunk of workers. It also enlightens us. Remember when we were talking about the budget and you know how these areas had so much um, money put into them. Well, this is a big reason why there's a lot of people working there. So how do you get to be part of the civil service or the people that work within the government? Traditionally, it's through patronage. If you know anything about patronage, hiring based on political favors. So it's hiring because you know you help somebody out. You might have worked for them during a campaign. Not a great practice. You know, you want to hire the best people. Somebody that helped you out during a campaign may not know a whole lot about defense or the environment. Um, but traditionally, this is what we've done, and it's caused problems throughout our history. So in 1881, we kind of changed this a bit. We passed what was called the Pendleton Civil Service Act, and we started hiring the bureaucracy based on merit. So, you know, how good are you for the job? It was also, we tried to keep it nonpartisan. So, you know, your political party wouldn't be an issue. And we had what we called the civil service exam, where you would take an exam, and if you were qualified, you could get the job. In 1939, we passed what we call the Hatch Act, and it says that civil service employees can't participate in politics. Does that mean a civil service employee can't vote? No, they can vote. They just can't campaign. Um, Politicians also can't use the bureaucracy to help them win an election. So, for example, a president couldn't use the Justice Department to dig up dirt on his opponent. We also employ the Office of Personnel Management. This is just the bureaucratic office that hires for our bureaucracy. So in our bureaucracy, we have four different parts. The first one, and probably the highest one, if you think about it, is the cabinet. And I have a picture of President Obama's cabinet here because, quite frankly, I couldn't find a picture of all of President Trump's cabinet. Not sure why I couldn't, but you know, nonetheless, you see, you know, the number of people and you know what this would look like. Um, so these are the president's top advisors in all these areas, and we're going to delve into the cabinet a little further later on. But you're talking about 15 different policy areas. The second area is government corporations, and I always thought this was kind of interesting that the government actually runs businesses. Businesses like the post office and Amtrak and PBS are all funded by the government. They're run like a regular business, but they're still part of the government and they're a government agency. The third one, and probably most synonymous with the bureaucracy, are regulatory agencies. And these are groups that, you can see police, businesses, corporations, the government. They make sure different companies and corporations are following the laws, and they're like a big watchdog for the country. And I have some different examples here. The EPA, a lot of us know what that does. The FCC, which regulates what's on TV. They give us those nice ratings when we go to the movies, R, PG-13, all that stuff. The FAA, which regulates our airplanes, very important job. Food and Drug Administration, also important. They're not just dealing with food there, they're also dealing with our prescription drugs. The Federal Trade Commission, might not seem real interesting to us, but it's very important through, with fair business practices. Another one, again, not real exciting, but very important. The Securities and Exchange Commission regulates the stock market. The last group is called independent agencies, and these groups are pretty much like what's left over. Anything that isn't a cabinet department, regulatory agency, a government commission, some of these are just an independent agency because they're not a cabinet agency. Why aren't they a cabinet agency? Don't really know. They're just not. Some of these you're probably familiar with, some not. Obviously, you can see NASA there. I think everybody knows what NASA is. But that's all. And thanks for listening.